Hello, hello. It is so good to be back, you guys. Thank you so much for your patience as you've waited for new content on the Pretty Personal podcast. I have just been beaming and just hungry for this day when I could find a recording space where I have quality equipment. I'm so excited. I'm so happy that you're here with me. Let me know in the comments and through direct messages, however you want to get a hold of me. Let me know your recommendations of how to improve the quality even more. I'm just super excited to be back. So, as I jump back into content, I have been preparing behind the scenes a lot of ideas, educational, practical, lots of different categories of personal elements of life, right? So we've got hygiene, we've got body care, we've got hair care, we've got styling, we've got makeup, we've got skincare, we've got teaching tweens and teens and caring for elderly parents, and just the whole scope of what it means to present yourself as a functioning human in the world. And wherever you fall on that scale of concern or non-concern, I think that you'll be able to benefit from the content at some point that I provide here. I'm super excited to be educating you guys and here to provide you with answers and recommendations and just education, because at the end of the day, I am anti-marketing. And I know some companies or brands or people might come after me for saying that out loud, but I just feel like we as a society, as a culture, have fallen prey for far too long to such, I don't want to curse, but such terrible lies in the marketing world. And we just get caught up in the vortex of listening to influencers and seeing viral products online and having companies promise a solution for our issues if only we purchase their product. And so I just want to cut through all of that so that I can educate on what your concern may be, what you scientifically need to address that concern, and then if I have experience in any product arena that I can give you, I can. A lot of times when I am working in retail with the beauty industry, I'll start by asking a ton of questions before I ever give a product recommendation, because if I can't give you a unique recommendation for your skin, your hair, your situation, your preferences, then I don't think that that recommendation counts, right? There are definitely times when there is a just universal product that I want to recommend, but that's just not typically how it works. And I want to be able to provide on this platform more helpful recommendations for more people, because when I'm working in the beauty industry and I'm face to face with clients, that's just one person, right? I'm just helping one person at a time. And I want to be able to help hundreds and thousands and really get some confidence back in the beauty industry, in the personal space, in the hygiene space, for people to just boost their confidence and boost their sense of well-being. And so, jumping into today's subject, I wanted to talk about a question that I had received in real life, and I love this. I hope to be able to bring you guys tons and tons of real life questions, because I feel like it's so much more helpful than just me getting on here and ranting about something. So let me jump into today's question, and it has to do with hair and growing your hair. So it says, "Hi, I've been a short-haired girl for a while now, but I've been thinking I want to grow it out. Obviously, that's not a quick switch kind of thing, but I was curious, do you have any tips to promote hair growth? I love this question so much for many, many reasons, because I think it shows that she already recognizes that this is a time commitment. She's got that aspect, right? Takes time to grow your hair. On average, we are taught that the human hair grows at about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch per month. Now, I can tell you from personal experience that my hair grows even slower than that. So there are those of us in the fringe area where that doesn't even apply. And then there are people that grow way faster. So just as an average, it does take a lot of time to grow hair. If you do grow at that average to faster than average pace, 1/2 an inch a month is only 6 inches a year. And 6 inches is, like this. That's a lot, I guess, but relative to the amount of time that would take, that can get discouraging. That can feel like it's not worth the effort, or whatever that may be. So keeping that in mind, she wants to know if there's anything else besides just waiting for your hair to grow to get to her goal, right? So I replied to her question by saying, yes, this is exciting. See, as her hairstylist, I'm the one responsible for having cut it all off. And so I love that she trusts me and feels comfortable enough with me to ask me, basically, how do I not come in for another haircut? How do I grow my hair out and, maybe not even need you? And I don't mind helping. I think it's important to build that trust. So I said, this is exciting. First, it's important not to follow tips from random people on the internet, mostly because their advice is either sponsored content or their hair just isn't the same type as yours. So their recommendations, whether they are full of integrity and honesty or not, their recommendations may not work for you. And so I do want to touch on this for just a second, because I feel like it's really important for the younger audience, as well as any audience, any age, truly, to put up a bigger filter in your decision making, to not just buy the next problem or product that claims to address your specific problem, because we can get into a really overwhelmed space in our bathroom, in our vanity, in our beauty routine, when we start just accumulating tons and tons of recommended products. If anything, whenever I start a recommendation process with someone, I'm starting from zero. Like I don't want to add to an accumulation of products. I would prefer if we could just zero everything out and then build from there. And I will always be willing on a one-on-one basis to incorporate what you already own if it has any beneficial qualities. And so I love the joy of finishing a product and recycling the packaging and having that freedom to either repurchase or move on. And if that's you out there, where you just want to be a good steward and use what you have, then I hope to be able to encourage you in doing that. So with that being said, I do get into some product recommendations for her. And if she wanted to come back and question, like, well, I have this, does that work? That is definitely a space that I love to enter into. But for today, let's just talk about how to get your hair to grow either faster or stronger or more consistently with focus, right? Because we understand that it just takes time, but sometimes you want to give yourself a little added boost and see if it's even possible to tip that scale. And I also think that it's really important to keep some sort of track of your decisions about your hair and your products, and whether that's in a journal or your social media, just like scrolling back a couple months to see where you were, where you started, what you've been using. It's really important to not just live in that 10-second window of what's next, what's next, what's next. So I first and foremost start answering her question here by bringing up the scalp. Okay, so the scalp is the most important focal point in your hair growth journey because it is the structure that houses both the internal hair root where your follicle is and the external hair flow that you get in each individual strand. The scalp is this like miraculous environment that is on autopilot, right? Most people don't even think about their scalp. Most people just assume that the shampoo that they're using is good enough for their scalp without ever really addressing the health and wellness and intentionality that can be poured into your scalp. And usually the scalp gets attention only if there's an issue with yeast or fungus or psoriasis or eczema or, alopecia. It usually only gets negative attention. And so I want to focus on it and draw it to the front of your minds as something that you can intentionally start focusing on now to not only avoid potential areas of pain and frustration in the future, but as an area of intentional growth and reward. Not only in the growth time frame and just the ability to boost that growth potential, but also in styling. I think a lot of our products and styling techniques can be benefited by a healthier scalp as well. So let's draw our attention back to this answer to this question. And so I talk about the scalp specifically in two capacities. You want to focus on intentional scalp cleanse and making sure you have a fully clarified scalp, because a clogged hair follicle area with either excess sebum or excess dead skin cells, you can hinder the hair growth. You can get ingrown hairs. You can kind of stunt the growth of healthy hair because it's just bogged down by a burden of junk that doesn't need to be there. And you can really lead to other issues that don't need to happen. So clarifying the scalp can either be done intentionally with a specific product that you kind of keep in your routine on just a regular basis, but it's not your weekly or daily go-to shampoo. Or it can be your regular shampoo, but just used in a more specific intentional capacity where you do a double shampoo or you do a triple shampoo or you combine it with a couple other massage techniques or like one of those scalp massaging silicone brush thingies. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like a specific product that provides a clarifying cleanse, but you do need to have a idea of where your scalp is on a baseline, what it feels like when it's just regularly cleansed, and what it feels like if it's clarified. And one of the areas of learning scalp, understanding scalp is in taking an assessment. And so I recommend, use your fingernail and just go along multiple areas of your scalp and take a little teeny gentle scratch test. If you have irritation, if you have dead skin cells that you notice building up under your fingernail as you're gently scratching along, then you definitely need some intentional focus on getting a clarified scalp. And I can talk more in depth on my how to shampoo correctly, my recommendations for that, because I find that this area of hygiene and personal care, it is a huge gap in education, understanding, product use, etc. It's one of my most commonly seen issues in the salon when I have someone sit down in my chair first 30 seconds of the consultation, I can tell if they even have a understanding of a clean scalp or not. And unfortunately, it definitely gets in the way of every single hair type and every single style across the board. So learn what it means to clarify your scalp. Focus on getting to a point where your scalp is like the healthiest surface of your body. And then work on circulation. So you've got the scalp, right? It houses your hair, and you've got two components to the hair housing. You've got what's growing out. That's where we focus on the clarifying and all of that good stuff that has to happen, the products that we place onto the hair, onto the scalp, all of that. And then you've got the health of the actual follicle underneath, which depends on a good, steady blood flow. We have so much nutrient, what's this called? The nutrients that our entire body depends on comes from blood circulation, and it's just constantly carrying good things to the extremities, and it's picking up the bad stuff and bringing it to our detox functions and organs and all of those good things. And even though this isn't like a human physiology lesson, it is important to understand that when you are going through a stressful situation, or your health is compromised, or you've not been nourished, you have deficiencies, vitamins, all of those tricky things definitely come together to contribute either positively or negatively to your hair, skin, and nails. Because as a survival organism, we are wired to send the nutrients to our vital areas before the extremities, right? So if you're going through something really difficult, your hair, skin, and nails are going to suffer, but your internal organs are going to continue to function well. Now, if you are in a season of poor health or stress or frustration, then focusing on massaging the scalp and forcing that blood flow can be beneficial. However, it can be beneficial for the healthiest individual as well. Just boosting that circulation, causing there to be more blood flow to that area, just reminds the whole body system, like, oh wow, yeah, there's something here that I want to intentionally grow and maintain and nourish. And so there's a couple different things that you can do for scalp circulation. You can use just your plain old hands as you're shampooing in the shower. You are intentionally having a pattern of gentle massage to the scalp that will awaken more blood flow. And you can use, like I said, you can use your hands, you can use a tool like one of those silicone things that's designed for the hair. There's a bunch of different ways that you can do that manually. And then you can also use products that are designed for circulation. And I think that's where a lot of the products that are out there with rosemary oil and tea tree oil and menthol and peppermint and all of those things, they get their efficacy and their ability to help nourish the hair because they're a component of forcing circulation. And so do your research on what you need as a product to increase circulation, but please hear my caution that I don't believe in a lot of DIYing. I personally have come from a background where I've studied science. I've been a licensed cosmetologist for, years and years. I've been in the beauty industry studying products, studying ingredients. I fell down the rabbit hole of analyzing whether something is clean or not, or if it's got a good rating on an app, or if the app says it's dirty, and I threw everything away and I tried to DIY everything. And I am telling you today that when I did that DIY lifestyle for well over a year, if not a few years, that's when my hair, skin, and nails actually became the worst it's ever been. So take that with a grain of salt. I personally trust cosmetic chemists. I personally trust products that have been run through the ringer with testing and clinical studies and all of those things. So I personally do not recommend putting essential oils anywhere on the body without a degree. And so products that I do recommend for your scalp for circulation and for hair growth and density is either the Divi hair serum or the ordinary density serum. You can use both, you can use one or the other, but the Divi hair serum has some of those ingredients, like those essential oils and those natural ingredients that have been put together by a chemist to effectively help with the scalp. And the one thing that I really enjoy about using products that have actually been designed for the scalp is that they work with other products well, and you don't have to worry about not being able to shampoo them out or not being able to style your hair. You can really just follow the directions and get a really good result versus using your DIY things and then finding out, like I did years and years ago, I cannot wash coconut oil out of my hair. And it freaks me out and I don't know what to do, and it just gets stuck in there for days and it's disgusting. I want to save you from that hassle and from that pain. So I recommend those two serums to increase circulation, to increase the potential of your hair to grow, and then use that massage, use that time in the shower, whether you are cleansing multiple times a week or just one time a week. I definitely believe in cleansing more often than less often, and we can get into that on another podcast episode as well, because I'm starting to run out of time here. Because it's important to just have the style that you want to maintain for the look and presentation of your hair, but also be able to use these products in rotation and not get like buildup and, feel gross, look gross, whatever. So that is my most important piece in recommending how to grow your hair. Now, another area of growing your hair that I think we automatically focus on, and maybe even too much compared to what I just educated about your scalp, is the mids and ends of your hair, right? So when we're on a hair journey, we really start to analyze where is the length? How far is it growing? And trying to micromanage those ends. And that can cause more stress than is necessary because there's not a lot you can do to force the ends to look longer. However, I do believe in a pre-shower treatment to protect your ends. So I think to really enhance your growth potential, every time you are approaching a shower where you're going to be shampooing your hair, before your shower, at least 10 minutes, if not 30, put about a quarter size of a hair oil in your palm, rub it between your hands and fingers, kind of like you're putting on lotion, slather that into your hair in sections, starting from your ears down, and let that oil sit and saturate on your mids and ends to protect that from the mechanical damage that happens in water. Water can be one of the most damaging elements, chemicals to your hair shaft, because it is designed to be more acidic, and water has a higher pH, and it can just kind of burst those bonds in the hair to create breakage and split ends and just tangles and the whole nine. And so when you're pre-oiling that hair to have a coating and a protection, it will rinse out because it's designed for hair use. So as soon as it's exposed to water, it's going to start to remove itself from your hair. So as you're shampooing your scalp and getting those benefits to the scalp area, you're not overly damaging your mids and ends, with too much detergent, too much water, too much of all of that potential damage. So those two components actually end up benefiting the hair length much more over time, because you're kind of hitting both elements of where hair grows and how it grows and how to keep it long. So there's that. Then I went in my answer to this dear friend of mine with talking about trimming and thinning, and she definitely has some really nice, thick, average density hair strands. So her growth journey is not going to be as troublesome and traumatic as mine would be if I were in her shoes and wanting to really enhance the look and length of my hair. She's going to have an easier time. She's young, she's active, she's got a great scalp, she's got great hair thickness. So there's not a lot of other nitty-gritty issues that she needs to focus on. Yes, she could do regular trims. I would not recommend anything more frequent than every 6 months or so, but she could benefit from some additional thinning to her hair because her hair does lean on the thicker side. So I go into some details with her about how to maybe maintain the pleasantness of brushing and styling her hair as it gets longer, because thick hair can be a burdensome, wonderful thing. Wonderful sounding to those of us that have really thin hair, but it can be interesting to deal with. And it's an element that someone with shorter hair but wanting to grow it would have to consider as a part of their pros and cons, right? We all have pros and cons with the decisions we make. So I hope this helps answer this question of how do I grow my hair? How do I see better results from my growth efforts? Focus on your scalp, both the external and internal. Focus on using products that are designed for hair and not just DIY or random essential oils. Focus on a good cleanse routine and learn what your hair feels like when it is clean. And then treat those ends and mids with care so that they stay with you longer. And then analyze how often you need hair cutting based on what your ends are doing. And, keep track, keep a history, keep, an eye on where you're starting, where you want to go, and maybe calculate how long you think it's going to take to get there. And then you can make your decisions based on all of those data points. And I really hope that that information will help you be even more satisfied, even more happy, and rewarded with the efforts that you're putting into your beauty and hair routine. So let me know if this was helpful. Let me know if you have other questions you want me to answer, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Bye, guys.